So the Inflation Reduction Act has finally passed the Senate and will most likely pass the House later in August. This bill will be doing a lot to many different sectors of the American economy, and it contains historic provisions to tackle climate change. It will allow Medicare to negotiate the prices of some prescription drugs, and the bill could affect what kind of car you buy, as well as how you heat your home. It's supposed to prevent big price increases for some individuals who purchase health insurance, like myself. And if you aren't paying your taxes, there's a better chance the IRS will find out. What's going on, guys? My name is Freddie Finance. I'm a licensed financial advisor, and in this video I'll be going over what the passing of this bill means for everyday Americans. This landmark bill makes massive investments in climate, tax, and healthcare policy. It contains multiple provisions that could help achieve that goal, while the Congressional Budget Office has found that it's likely to reduce the deficit up to $102 billion over the next 10 years. While deficit reduction as well as other policies in the bill could change demand in the overall economy, the other provisions could increase supply of resources such as energy. As basic economics work, when supply is up, demand goes down, prices decline. Inverse relationships. So the first part of the bill is that it aims to take money out of the economy. Right now, part of the issue with inflation is that there's too much demand relative to the supply, like money circulating in the economy. This is going to take some of that money out, both by taxing it and then spending it less than we otherwise would on things like prescription drugs. This won't come into effect right away. Some things need to take place before those effects are felt by Americans in terms of what comes out of their pocket. The second part of the bill is regulatory reform, which are going to fast track things like allowing pipelines to be built, more drilling, and stuff like that. This should increase the supply and availability of energy, which in turn reduces the cost of energy, and then that in turn puts a downward pressure on inflation. Right now, America is a huge energy importer. We are getting our energy from other countries, and they are the ones putting the prices on energy. We are the buyers, and we're being forced to pay those prices. But with the bill hopefully bringing more energy independence to America, this will allow America to set the prices of energy and make their own, which is always going to be lower. And the third part of the bill addresses some microeconomic effects, which will address costs that everyday Americans face for specific goods and services. In particular to this bill, prescription drugs and healthcare premiums are going to be the main drivers of helping Americans keep more money in their pockets. The lowering of prescription drugs is not going to directly come from lowering the prices of that set drug. They're going to come from shifting the prices over to the federal government. While this does not have a direct impact on inflation, it will help more Americans put more money in their pocket. But our issue with inflation right now isn't excess demand. Our biggest challenge right now is persistence, meaning that what started as a huge demand shock and supply shock is now going to be sort of embedded in how people do their wage negotiations and how businesses set their prices along with expectations. This should be good for everyday Americans because where lower prices mean we are able to keep more money in our pockets. This in turn will lower demand for higher wage increases because businesses won't be raising their price too much since things are going to start costing a little less. And the combination of taking money out of the economy, which is the macro implication that affects the demand side, while the regulatory changes affect the supply side, which in turn affects the price. This tackles the microeconomic side, which is energy costs that everyday Americans pay, and the prescription drug costs. The combination of these two things should all push in towards the direction of lower inflation. It takes a full team effort, all hands on deck type of vibe to make these big economic adjustments come to fruition. And then in turn, this is going to help the Federal Reserve, as they are the main drivers of inflation by setting monetary policy. And how could we forget the new IRS funding that is going to come out of this bill? This is aimed to make big corporations pay more of their fair share in taxes, because the government feels that many of these big conglomerates have been working the system too well and avoiding taxes. So by taking more taxes out of the big corporations, they hope to maneuver that into different areas that the economy is weak in turn help Americans, or should I say everyday Americans, be able to afford basic costs, or their most common costs like gas and prescription drugs, a lot easier. So to sum this all up, the Inflation Reduction Act is aiming to help everyday Americans afford more of their everyday costs, like prescription drugs, price at the pump, and it goes to show that not one specific thing in the economy can be tied to why inflation is the way it is. It's clearly a buildup of many different things that snowball into what we're dealing with today. There's no guarantee that this Inflation Reduction Act is going to be the saving grace that brings the economy to the perfect state where everybody is happy. But I definitely believe it is a step in the right direction to get to where we want to be, where less Americans are suffering and more money is being put in our pockets. If you learned one thing about this act or something new, throw me a like, throw me a subscribe. Let me know what you guys think about this act in the comments, or if you have any questions. But catch you guys next time.